time we're having it was the initiative, is actually the initiative of my sector minister, Honorable Kujo. He felt through his wisdom that we needed to do something that would encourage SOEs and specified entities when SIGA came into being to work harder and also to get some recognition, because most of them are not in our part of the world. Hard work sometimes goes not recognized. And he felt that the PELT Award is one of the initiatives that could help, just like we have the Oscars and other awards in different industries. It's our goal to try and develop this PELT Awards into one of the more treasured and more prestigious awards that will be given out in Ghana, and hopefully other countries on the continent can also learn from us. Before we delve into today's proceedings, I'd like to take a moment to express my heartfelt appreciation to all the specified entities, especially the leadership, for your support and full participation in all the activities of SIGA, and also for working closely with us, and most often than not, adhering to our request for various reports. We believe that we've come a long way, and we believe that it's going to get better in the years to come. The second edition of the PELT Awards has also improved. This year, we brought in Pricewaterhouse, and we brought in Pricewaterhouse and another agency to help us, Institute of Directors, to complement the jury, because we believe that such an award should also stand up to the test of time. And you'd realize that this year we spent more time on the jury process and also the evaluation process. And we'd like to have your feedback after the event, and also how we can make it better for the third PELT Awards. In terms of SIGA, we've had a lot of improvements. And again, I would like to thank the heads and boards of all the specified entities in terms of your cooperation. I think compliance has improved, submission of reports has improved, and if you look at the last audited accounts from the Auditor General, that has also improved. We are also getting more cooperation from the other oversight bodies. Next week we'll be having the second meeting of its kind, where the Public Services Commission, Internal Audit, Auditor General, about 8 of us agencies we meet. When I became Director General, I initiated it because I was surprised that all these oversight bodies were not having meetings to coordinate their efforts. So these are some of the initiatives that we have brought in. We've also established a very strong collaboration with Controller and Accountant General. And if you look at their report this year, because of the support we got from all of you, and again, I would like to thank you, especially those of you who were able to submit your reports by the end of February this year. We realized that the contribution of specified entities moved from 5% to 21% this year. And that means that there is a huge improvement on the physical space for government to borrow, and also for the Ministry of Finance to do its work. I think it's important that we collaborate so that we can get our numbers right. Most often than not, as a country, we are challenged because we do not have the numbers. And I'm glad to say that most of you are collaborating. However, like Oliver Twist, we still demand more from you, and I believe that one of the meetings we're having next week is also to be able to coordinate all these reports that are demanded from you, so that over time, you will not have to submit 20 reports, but maybe 10 or 8 or 2, but all of us oversight bodies can share it. That's why we're having these meetings. But we thank you very much for the support you are giving us. I think one of the things that we did this year, SIGA, and I think most of you saw the pictures, was we had we visited China with about 30 of you SOEs, and we'd like to thank the entities that came along with us and sponsored the trip. We're very, very grateful. I think for all of us, especially for those of you who participated in that trip, you realize that it was an eye-opening experience for most of the CEOs and board chairs and board members who were on the trip. 40 years ago, China was in this state. Most of their SOEs, specified entities, were struggling. In fact, we are in a better state today than they were 40 years ago. However, when they brought SASAC, which is the SIGA equivalent of SASAC, which is SIGA equivalent in China, today we have about 50 Chinese SOEs which are listed on the global Fortune 500 companies, and they are still hoping to list more. They are also on the cutting edge of technology innovation. But one of the things that we realized and learned was that they are the biggest contributor to the tax purse in China. The SOEs contribute the biggest purse in terms of tax. And then we also realized that SOEs are held to a very high standard, and that's what trickles even into the private sector. And one of the things we learned was that CEOs within the Chinese system, if you don't meet your thresholds, sometimes your salary is dropped. Your salaries are dropped. And they have very high benchmarks. And I hope that the CEOs and the leaders who went on this trip, it will not just be a trip, but we'll come back and work with our colleagues to implement some of these innovations which they have done. We need to have a lot of changes also within the SOE and specified entities. In fact, it's for that reason that this year we thought it wise to invite the Honorable Attorney General to share with us. Because one of the things that we also realized in China was that in terms of legislation, in terms of regulations, in terms of reporting lines, it's very, very clear. And we don't have some of the challenges, or they don't have some of the challenges that we have here. But SASAC is only 20 years old. We are 4 years old, and I'm hoping that by the time we are 10 years old, we would have achieved more than they have. We are also planning another trip, hopefully in December, to France to also understudy how the Chinese SOE system has gone through an innovation, because just a few years ago, China was going through some of the same challenges. And my belief is that if they have done it, we should also be able to do it. And that's why we've decided to do these study tours. I think after China, after France, maybe if we're able to go to Singapore to also study, for me personally, I think that should be enough. And we should be able to take those learnings and put it in our system to see how well we can also do. Because I believe that if SOEs are paying enough tax, if SOEs are training enough people, if SOEs and specified entities are doing what is expected of them, then some of the financial challenges that government faces can be corrected in a very short while. And that's why we at SIGA are working very, very hard. We've started working on our 2021 and 2022 SOR report, and we would like to request of you that you work with us so that we can get these reports out on time. Some of these reports are also requirements that are needed by our donor and financial partners, the World Bank, IMF, and others. And most of the time, Ministry of Finance is relying on us to get these reports out. And as I said to you, we're in 2023. We're now working on the 2021 and 2022. And we would like to request that you give us these reports on time. I think one of the things too that we learned when we were in China is the high level of collaboration between SOEs. I think the Chinese system has 93 recognized SOEs under SASAC, but about 58,000 subsidiaries. A lot of these organizations, they collaborate in terms of technology, in terms of innovation, so that they can be at the forefront and also save money. And we would like to encourage that. One of the things that SIGA is going to do from next year is to work with various sector industries. So for instance, if we look at the energy sector, to bring best who are doing very well, and I'd like to congratulate Mr. Provincial. I think he's one of our very forward-looking and dynamic CEOs. And why can't you share your experiences with some of your colleagues in your sector? Because you have been able to solve some of these problems. Sometimes the problems you solve are the same problems that others are struggling to solve. And we believe that knowledge sharing should not only be us going out, but also doing it locally. And that's one of the innovations that we at SIGA are going to bring forward next year, so that we have industry breakfast, industry lunches, just sometimes a cocktail to share experiences, so that those of you who have put your best foot forward and are doing well can also lift the others. Because I work with all the CEOs, and I must say that everybody is trying to do their best or wants to do well. But unfortunately, some are more constrained, and that is what we would like also to bring into the fore, so that next year when we call for these meetings, all of you will be happy to attend. I'd like to end here and also congratulate those who will be winning awards this year. Winning is okay, but it's what you do after you've won that's more important. There were some entities that won last year, and this year they just dropped. Why? Maybe they got too complacent. And there were some too that didn't even appear, that said, why didn't we? And today they will be awarded. But once you've been given this award, I think it should spur you on to do other things. But for me, I would like to see what we saw in China, where one day other organizations will come to Ghana to learn from Ghana Airports, BEST, VRA, because we have some of the best institutions on the African continent. And there is no reason why we should not do what we can, do it well, and also extend our tentacles into other African countries. A lot of the Chinese SOEs in this country, 20, 30 years ago, didn't have that skill, but today they are opening markets for China all over. How many markets, as CEO of your organization, do you hope to open for the country during your time? I think these are challenges that you should give yourself, that you should be able to open markets for your entity, so that when the sun sets, you would say that Edward Boateng was able to take SIGA into Rwanda or SIGA into Nigeria, because it's possible. And I think these are the challenges that I would like us to give ourselves, so that our organizations can rise and be shining stars on the continent of Africa. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe,
and click on the bell